Hey man, what's going on? How are you?
Yeah,
Good.
dude,
Thanks for
how's it
being here.
going? Yeah, pleasure. What time is it for you there?
It is 10:23. Oh, my Siri's going off. It's 10:23 a.m. What time is it for you?
Okay, so it's 6:23 in the evening.
Nice.
Yeah. So good
So if you
morning,
wait
I
like an
guess.
hour to have dinner, I'll have lunch and that'll be weird. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, we can do a working lunch
Well,
together.
thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for talking with me. You are a thru hiker, right? You call yourself a thru hiker, right? Well,
I guess
why don't you
so.
tell my
Yeah.
audience basically who you are, kind of what your background is and all that stuff, because maybe people don't know who you are.
Yeah. So I'm from the UK. Just outside London, but I've been living in Helsinki, Finland for the past like 7 years now, kind of on and off, especially at the start. I thru hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2015, and that's where it kind of all began. Like I'd spent a little bit of time on the Appalachian Trail before
Okay.
the thru hike, and that was like the big goal. And then I guess that really kind of got me addicted. But to be fair, at the end of the AT, I was like ready for
Okay.
it to be over. Like it was a wicked experience, but like I was kind of ready for it to be done. And then didn't hike in 2016 or didn't do anything like longer. And then a bunch of the people that I did the AT with in 2015 did the CDT in 2017, and I jumped on that opportunity. And the CDT for me is what really
So
like
you did
took
the
it to
whole
the next
CDT,
level.
right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so started on the Canadian border, finished on the
Okay.
Mexican border. But the CDT is what solidified
Okay.
that for me, just in terms of like the scenery and the variety. Like I had a really good experience on the AT, but the CDT just took it to the
Yeah.
next level. And then yeah, didn't hike massively in 2018, and then 2019 did like a 5-week trip
Oh
in the High
man.
Sierra,
Oh
which
man. How was
was
that?
like
Pretty
just
awesome.
crazy. Dude, it was the hardest thing
Really?
I've ever done. Oh, by far, just because it was basically off route, like off trail
Okay.
high routes, and so a lot of the time I'm just navigating with GPS and maps. And yeah, so that was like a game changer, and yeah, fully addicted now. So
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So,
yeah,
and then your trail name is Pi. Okay.
Pi. So Pi is my trail name, and then like Pi on the Trail is the
Okay. So you
channel
got
and
your
the
channel. We'll
website
link
and all
that up
that.
here for
So,
sure.
yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of people clicked on this video because they saw the title, right? They're
Mhm.
the draw is that there's possibly some division maybe in the backpacking community from thru hikers to weekend warriors, and just this weird. Okay. And so I posted a bunch of questions actually on my community, or I posted a question on my community, and I just basically
Okay.
asked. I said, what would be some good
Right.
questions for a thru hiker and a weekend warrior to ask each other? Because I am
Okay.
not a thru hiker. I have no desire to ever
Okay.
thru hike
Yeah.
anything in my life. Like it's
Yeah.
not even remotely on my radar. It's just not
Mm.
any. So for me, I started hiking about the same time. About 2015 is when I first started backpacking, and that to me was because
Mm.
I had watched like a bunch of episodes of The Survivor Man, and I was
Okay.
like, I need to go. I got to figure out how to do this. I didn't even really realize that backpacking was much of a thing back then. Like it didn't even. It was more like
Mm.
me and my buddies were like just going to go on this manly weekend and go camping in the middle and see if we could survive with what we could carry on our backs. And I jumped on YouTube, and I was like,
Mhm.
wow, this is a thing. And so I
Yeah.
went out. I've been a gear person my whole life, and so I went out and bought a bunch of stuff for that trip. Went on it, and it was actually a pretty decent experience overall for my first trip. Like nobody showed me how to do other than YouTubers, and I was hooked,
Right.
absolutely hooked. But I wasn't hooked to the hiking as much as I was hooked to the experience of getting out and just being like, because I had car camped my whole life. So now I'm in the
Okay.
middle of nowhere, and for me it was like it just opened my eyes to this whole thing. Like, wow, this is unreal. And I'm from Wisconsin, where there's really nowhere to disperse camp near me. Like, I have to drive 5-6 hours in any direction to be able to disperse camp. So
Okay.
I didn't even know you could backcountry camp at shelters around here like that. There's a handful. So anyway, that's my backstory.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having this conversation with me, because I reached out to a handful of people who call themselves thru hikers, who've thru hiked significant places, and no one really gave much interest in having this conversation with me. I don't know if that's because they just didn't want to have the conversation with me, or for whatever reason, and you and I have known each other for a few years, right? I mean, we collaborated on a video probably a year and a half ago, and then we've talked on and off. We've been friends and stuff. So I appreciate you having this conversation. It's not like we have this beef at all. I want people to think out there like there's this beef between me and you or something from the title.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Yeah, we've known each other on and off for a few years, and we kind of chat sporadically, right? So yeah, I mean, when you suggested it was a great idea, because there is this kind of, or there at least appears to be this some kind of division in the backpacking community, and like, yeah, I think it'd be interesting to talk
for
about
sure,
it a little bit.
for sure.
But
okay.
Yeah.
And then I think we should ask some of these questions. And then if you and I maybe have questions for each other, I think that'd be kind of cool to ask, right? See if we got, okay.
For sure.
So this first question, they're asking the weekend warrior, what's something you took that you were surprised you needed? And then they're asking you, the thru hiker, what's the oddest thing you ever suddenly wished you had in the woods? So for me, what's something I took that I was surprised that I needed? I don't know, maybe my medical kit. I don't know. That's a good question.
Okay.
I'd have to really think about that. I think they're wanting you to say, like, because you're a thru hiker and you're out there with just limited stuff because you're trying to lighten your pack as much as you can. What's one thing that you're out there and you're like, holy cow, if I'd only had this?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what it is, because honestly, like, I mean, especially now at this point, there's not that many things that I go out there and I miss, you know. Obviously at the start I was carrying a little bit more stuff, but like, I'd done my research, so I knew what I needed and kind of what I didn't. I'm trying to think. Honestly, maybe just some more warm layers, potentially. Yeah, it's probably that. It's probably that, because, you know, on a longer trip, even like a 5-week trip, like 90 to 95% of the time, the stuff that you have with you is fine. But then there's those extra cold nights where it drops like way colder than you're expecting it to get. So yeah, like having an extra mid layer, or like, you know, a heavier duty down jacket, for example, would be nice. But apart from that, there's nothing that really comes to mind. A warmer sleeping bag or a quilt. But
so that's a great point, because I've often thought that about guys who thru hike, right? Like, so when I'm trying to plan a trip coming up here in like 2 weeks, and it's going to be pretty cold, and I'm already like, okay, I got to really think through my layers, and this is for like 2 nights. Here you are going out, and you're out there for, you know, several nights at a time. Does it cross your mind? Do you think about those things ahead of time? Are you checking the weather, and if it's going to dip significantly below, are you looking at a bailout plan? What are you doing?
No, yeah. So I guess really thinking about it, what I have done in the past is, you know, say if I'm in the middle of a section, so I left town, say 2 days ago, and the next town's going to be coming up in 2 days. If I'm super, super cold, then when I get to town, I bought extra layers.
You're just like, I'm dealing with it, right?
Yeah, like you can go to a thrift store, or even just like, I don't know, Walmart or somewhere like that, and pick up like an extra pair of long underwear, or like just a basic fleece mid layer, and that makes all the difference.
But you're pretty much prepped anyway. It's not like you're so cold, right? Like you've done your research, right, for where you're hiking. Is that kind of how? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, of course, right? Like if you're, you know, you have to know more or less what you're getting in for. But like, there's always those situations where it's a bit colder, it's crazy windy, and you've been wet for a couple of days. And those situations, like, there's not much you can do. You kind of just get on with it. And then maybe by the time you get to town, the weather's got a bit better, or you've picked up another layer, and you just kind of get on with it, you know?
Okay. All right. Here's another question. Question for you is, how do you make enough time to complete the thru hike? And the question for me is, why don't you ever backpack for more than 4 days? I don't know. You want to go first?
Sure, I can go. I mean, I guess because I love it. Like why do I make the time, or how do I make the time? Because I love it. It's like something that I choose to do with my life. Work up, work hard, save money, plan, the trip a year or two in advance. I'm kind of always looking at like what maybe I want to do next. Put money in the bank, try not to spend too much money in kind of like day-to-day life, and go do it. Like, will I be doing it forever? Like, who knows? But at least for the foreseeable future, I don't have any plans to really slow down. Because I love it, and it's what I want to do. I don't have kids. I don't plan on having kids. That obviously makes things easier financially and just, in terms of taking time off. But I make time because I want to.
Do you consider what's the more, because I'm trying to think through this question a little bit. For you, is it more about the hike, or is it the camping experience? Is it just, what is it for you? Is that a good question? Is that too deep?
It's a great question. No, it's a great question. It's I guess it depends, because like with the AT, if someone asked me like why I did the Appalachian Trail in the first place, my default answer is to see if I could. Okay. Like, I did the Appalachian Trail to see if I could do it, because I'd met people.
You hadn't hiked much before then, right?
I had done, I'd been working at an outdoor education camp in the US, in upstate New York, for a couple of summers previously. That was like my exposure to the AT. But I just wanted to see if I was like capable of doing something like that. And I was, and I finished the thru hike, and I was like, it was the most incredibly proud moment I've ever had, even till this day. So that was the reason for the AT, but then the CDT was because I wanted to, because I'd seen other people that had done it, stuff on YouTube, whatever, and I just wanted to get out there and experience that. Like, I'm from like a small suburb on the outskirts of London, and so seeing these crazy vistas that you guys have over there, like, there's nothing else like it. Like, it's just incredible.
So yeah, okay, that's always been interesting to me. Because a lot of guys, when I hear like, even guys that have never thru hiked before, a lot of guys will talk about the miles. Like, they're all about the miles. They want to hike as farther and farther and farther and farther. They're pushing their limits, right? They're going 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 miles in a single day. And I feel like that's the reason a lot of people do it. And for me, I'm just, I guess I'm different. I look at it like, I don't like being bored during the day, right? So that's why I hike, right? And I don't like sitting around a camp either. And I'm the kind of I kind of have to have that plan ahead of me to really have direction for myself. So I don't really care if the hike, for me anyway, is a mile or 20 miles. Like, it's not about whether I can do it, because I've hiked some pretty long days, but I feel like it's more about the experience to me, like just being out there. And because I'm kind of a gear nerd, I love using new gear. Like, I love getting a new piece of gear. And to me, as a thru hiker, that I would think that'd probably be a little more difficult, but as a weekend guy, I can come home and swap something out and go back out, to, that kind of thing. And so I feel like for me, the overall experience is the package for me. But
okay, yeah. And it's hard to say, there isn't just one specific reason we do things. There's usually multiple different reasons behind it. And like, you would ask one weekend warrior and one thru hiker, and you get totally different answers from everybody. It's not like every thru hiker is going to answer the same thing. So I could say it's because thru hiking is a form of meditation for me, or it's because of the people, or it's because of the connection with the outdoors. You could say all these things and none of them would be wrong. So yeah. And you probably the same for you, right? It's the same for you. Like, just because you go out for like less amount of time, you might have a lot of the same answers as me, because we have a lot.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Like, yep. So they asked, why don't I don't know if they're asking me or the weekend warrior, why don't you ever backpack more than 4 days? I would guess that on a through hike, you're not really backpacking for more than 4 days before you're at a shelter or somewhere, right? I mean, maybe.
I mean, well, it depends. I guess, and that's hard to answer, right? Because like I think the longest I've done in between towns is maybe 8 days. I want to say maybe, but then obviously you're in a
What do you think
town, you
the
take a
average is?
shower, you
What's
buy
the
all
average?
food. Average, it depends on the trail, but I would say average is
Okay.
like 4 to 5. And on the Appalachian Trail, you could potentially be in some kind of town
Yeah,
every 2
yeah.
or 3 days. So it
So, and then
depends. But like,
are you,
yeah. But imagine
sorry.
like, yeah, imagine like you know, a 4 or 5 day section, like backpacking trip, but you're doing that, I don't know, however many times that is to get to 6 months or get to 3,000 miles or 2,500 miles, depending on the trip. So of course it's different. It's like
Yeah,
extremely
right.
different.
Are you, do you feel like,
Yeah.
because for me, I feel like as somebody who's just a weekend guy, after like maybe my 4th day, I'm done. Like I just want to get home. Like this was awesome. I'm toast. I'm tired. You know, I miss my kids, you know, the all that stuff. And I'm just like, I'm ready to get back home. And I know that's not everybody out there. That's just me personally. Do you feel like that out there? I mean, or do you, because you know you're not going to be back for months at a time, is it more for you like I'm done with this section, I'm ready to hit a real shower or a real bed? I mean, is that for you like that?
Yeah. I mean, it's not often that I feel like, oh, I wish the trip was over, but like 5, 6 days without a shower for me personally, it's not my favorite thing to do. Like some of my best friends, like my hiking partners, they just don't care. They could go multiple sections without taking a shower, but that's just not me. And there's like a few different reasons for that. One of them just being straight up chafing, like I'm a chafer. So like I want to take a shower, but also, yeah, I appreciate it. But that's also changed over the years. Like on the AT, I was more that way, but as time's gone on, I've been less and less excited about going into town than I used to be. But like, of course, I want to have a pizza. Of course, I want to like do laundry. Like I think it's completely normal. And then like missing home life, of course. Like if you're in the woods for like 4 or 5 months, you miss Wi-Fi, you miss like a proper toilet, you miss like my partner. I miss my partner, of course. Like we've been together for years, and so I miss her like crazy. Yeah, but very rarely do I wish that the trip was like over.
I think I kind of feel the same way.
That.
I mean, I feel like it depends on it. I guess it depends on the location of the trip, because for me, I'm going all over the place. So I'm hiking in different. I'm not hiking a one trail a long distance. I'm hiking, you know, one weekend I might be in Michigan, another weekend I might be in Kentucky or something like that. And so,
yeah,
I feel like it depends on the trip. I don't know if there's some trips like I was in the Sawtooth Mountains in August, and what I was done as an exhausted, like I was ready to get a hotel. I would have the next week done it again. I mean, it was just that amazing. So I kind of feel that way. Yeah, that's interesting.
And to put a little spin on it, like I go on pretty regular trips here close by to home. So like nearby Helsinki, there's some national parks that I can drive to or take the bus to really close by. I might go there for a night or two. And when I do that, of course, then like, you know, I might spend one night in the woods, but then when I get back from the trip, I'm excited to like take a shower. Right. Even after a night. It's like, I don't need it maybe as much as I, you know, I don't need it, but it's still nice to have, right? It's nice to get home after a backpacking trip and take a shower, obviously.
Here's a good question. And it's to me, but I think we could both probably answer this question. They're asking, does pack weight really even matter to the weekend warrior? I love that question because I feel like there are a lot of guys like me that have preached at one point or another to how to lower base weight and all that stuff. And when I first started my channel, I kind of felt like in order to get noticed, I had to like be this ultralight hiker guy. And I realized very quickly that was so far from me anyway, because I'm just going on a weekend trips. Like I have no problem carrying my chair with me and, you know, extra fun stuff. Like just because I know I'm going for a bunch of guys for the weekend. So to me, I mean, I feel like I know where my comfort level is of base weight. I hardly even weigh my pack when I go out anymore, because I know based on what I'm throwing in it about how much that thing weighs. And I just know that when I kind of can feel my pack and be like, okay, that's fine. I've gone enough.
Yeah.
I'm not really weighing my gear
Mm-hmm.
anymore. How about you? I mean, what is base weight? How much? It's got to matter a ton to you as somebody who's going on a long distance trail, right? But you're filming too, so you're probably bringing a lot of camera gear, right?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, absolutely. And like, it absolutely does matter to me on a through hike. Like, it doesn't matter to every through hiker. Every through hike is, again, different. But I would, if someone asked me, hey, I'm going to go do a through hike, I'm going to go through hike the AT, what kind of gear would I, what should I use? I wouldn't hesitate to say, like, try and have a light pack, because you're going to be out there for months and months on end, right? So you don't have to, but I just think it will make your experience more enjoyable, and kind of the same, for a 3 or 4 day backpacking trip. Like, you don't have to go crazy light, but it might be a more enjoyable experience if your pack isn't crazy heavy. But that being said, if I go on a local trip here nearby for 1 or 2 nights, of course I bring extra stuff. I maybe bring some extra food. I don't have to kind of hesitate about bringing extra layers. I can bring, maybe more than I think I need, because I don't want to be cold. Like, no one wants to be cold at night, even if I'm, an hour or 2 drive from home. So pack weight does matter, but
do you enjoy the weekend hikes? I mean, is that something that you look for, or do you feel like
yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I think it's great. Like, the national park, the main one that I normally go to, it's beautiful. Like the scenery in Finland, like, it's fairly flat. There isn't a lot of like epic mountains and views and stuff, but the forest is really like untouched and beautiful. But that being said, like, am I jealous of friends that live in Colorado? Like, absolutely. Right. Like, I would love to have that kind of a playground on my back door to go do a 2-night backpacking trip in like epic mountains. Of course, I'm a little bit jealous of that. But like, I still appreciate the simplicity of like an overnight backpacking trip with 1 or 2 friends. Like, through hiking hasn't ruined weekend hiking to me. Absolutely.
Right. So do you are you planning another through hike now? Am I not supposed to ask that question?
No, yeah, I mean, absolutely I am. Yeah, no, I am. I mean, I didn't have any plans to do any major hikes last year anyway, which was great because I wouldn't have been able to. But then, yeah, I don't know, maybe I touched on this in a previous video, but yeah, planning to hike across Iceland this year. That's the plan.
How many miles is that?
So it's been on my bucket list. So it's about 400 miles. We calculated it out, maybe like 4 to 5 weeks, depending on how fast we go.
How fast do you go? What is your average pace out there? I mean, how many miles are you doing in a day typically, depending on where you're at, I guess?
I guess now on the AT, it was a different story, but like nowadays, I would say 20 is probably average-ish, something like that. Maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. Obviously depends on the terrain, but I am by no means a crazy fast guy. And I don't want to like hike like some people that will just go and go and go and go. That's not really my style. Like, I like to get up pretty early and hike until it basically gets dark, maybe a little bit night hiking, but yeah. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, Iceland is the plan. Fingers crossed, it all depends on COVID and all that stuff. So
wow. If you need something to come with you, let me know.
Dude, you're welcome to come along. If you can make it over, do it. Maybe it's going to be a bit longer than 4 days though.
To get some serious permission from my family. Okay, so I think this next question is the big question that I've been asking myself for so long, and I think a lot of people ask this question too. They're saying it would be interesting to discuss the rivalry and the small truths behind the judgments. It's always been interesting to watch the subtle ways in which backpackers, and then they have in parentheses, same team, still find ways to divide and form cliques. And I don't know, I kind of feel like there's serious truth to that, right? I mean, there's this like a like an odd divide, I feel like, just between a style. Because when I look at through hikers, right, just whatever you class yourself as, and I look at the newbies, right, or you just look at the weekend warrior, like I don't consider myself a noob, but a through hiker might consider me a noob because I've never through hiked, but I'm never going to through hike. Like that's, so I'll never, I don't care about that. I just feel like there's just been so many judgments. I kind of feel that way too. What do you feel like that? I mean, what have you seen, or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's, yeah, of course there is. Like, of course there's like this chatter and this, I don't want to say it's a rivalry. It doesn't feel
Right.
like a
Yeah.
rival,
No.
like a division, maybe. Let's call it like a division between different groups of people. And like we had said, you know, when we kind of planned this whole conversation, that like this is the subject that we wanted to touch on. And so I've been, you know, thinking about it over the past couple of days. And like, I think what it is is that like we make someone else's opinion wrong somehow. So like, you know, my opinion is my opinion, your opinion is your opinion. So say, for example, we talked about like favorite backpacking meal, for example, and I would be like, oh, ramen noodles and tuna. That, you know, that's my favorite. That's what I like. But then you said like mountain house or a backpacker pantry, for example. You said that. That's your opinion. This is my opinion. But then I think people have a tendency to make it like, because your opinion doesn't agree with my opinion, then you're wrong and I'm right.
Totally.
Which is the opposite of what an opinion is. An opinion is like what I believe and what's good for me. I really think it's that, but on like a bigger scale. Like if you're not a through hiker, you're not a hiker, which is just crazy to like to say something like that. You know?
Did you feel like so I've never been on trails where I guess I've passed a few through hikers here and there or whatever, but in the do you feel like that is like the general consensus? Like, let's say you're hiking the Appalachian Trail and you obviously are going to pass by some weekend guys or whatever. I mean, is there a sense of like, oh, among the through hikers, like, you know, this like what they're talking about, there's judgments and all that kind of stuff? Do you feel like that's out there?
I mean, of course it is. Of course it is. Like to be honest, to put it in a better perspective, if you talk about the CDT, because the AT, obviously a lot of people hike the AT is their first through hike, or they do a section hike. So there's a lot of different groups mingling on the AT. But for example, the CDT, you know, there's way less people. And so if a through hiker comes across a day hike on the CDT, then there's, you know, there's more of a gap there, right? So of course there is some sort of judgment. Is it right or is it fair? Like, no, not really. But that's like sort of comparing like a professional basketball player to a basketball player that goes out once a week and just shoots some hoops, right? Like there is a difference. But like I've always tried to preach that, like, not looking down on people. You know, we have differences, everybody's different, but looking down on people is where it starts to become a problem, right? So
like when I started my channel, like 5, maybe 6 years ago, I didn't do it to do a backpacking. It was just trying to help somebody out. It just sort of turned into a YouTube thing, and then I just kept rolling with it. And but my thought process now is, in doing this channel, I look at myself and I think, you know, I'm 42 years old. My kids are, my youngest now is about to go into high school next year. I mean, I can't uproot I just would never through hike something. That's just not it's not even my plan of thinking, regardless of what people think of me as an outdoor channel. Like, well, here's this guy, he just goes out on the weekends. What does he know about certain things, right? And I feel like my goal in what I'm doing is simply to find people that were like me, that may not realize what they're missing. Like, just getting people to get outdoors, I feel like, is the ultimate result, right? So like, and if I had seen your situation, for instance, if you had said, if I had met you 5-6 years ago and you'd said to me, well, let's go hike 2,000 miles. Okay. Right. So I kind of feel like in my situation, like this is why I'm doing this, to help the people that never thought it was possible to realize that it's possible. I feel like that's why I've, like, even with all the stuff I have so many backpacks, I got so many tents, I've got all this stuff. If you're through hiking, you need one backpack, you need one tent, you need one of everything. And they've got this is what I carry in my backpack. That's my gear room. Right. And I kind of feel like, well, I've got all this stuff because I'm trying to help people find what they love, what they need, all that stuff. That's kind of where I'm at now. So I feel like it frustrates me when I see, even when I was trying to get somebody to have this conversation, the fact that people wouldn't have this conversation with me spoke mountains to me. It was so sad in a way. It was like, wow, like what's the goal here? Is it a prideful thing? Probably for some people, like, is it just they don't want to stoop to that level?
No, yeah, I wish I know. I really wish I knew. I think I heard from someone that they said that there's room for everybody, right? Like YouTube is a big place, or like, the community is a big place. Like why does it have to be a competition? Why does it have to be me against you, or like my opinion versus your opinion? It doesn't have to be that way. But I think some people get a kick out of it a little bit, unfortunately. And then if you talk about like the thru hiker versus like a day hiker or a weekend warrior, before I thru hiked, I wasn't a thru hiker. So it's like I did a thru hike, and then I was a thru hiker. Before that, I was just doing weekend trips, or maybe 4 or 5 days at a time. But like, it's not like you put on like a certain backpack and that makes you a thru hiker. It's like, no, you just decide that you're going to go do one. You do a thru hike, and then you're a thru hiker. So I'm like no different than I was before. Okay, well, I am very different from where I was before, just because I'm older and wiser and whatever. But like, it's like I'm not I'm still the same person. I've just done a thru hike now.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an interesting way to look at it, for sure. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I don't consider myself better than someone else because I've thru hiked. Like, of course not. I'm not better than anyone in the world. I've just done.
Had you done a bunch of weekend trips before your thru hike though?
Not a bunch. Like I said, I grew up in the suburbs of London. So like I was in the like scouts, I was a scout as a kid, but like there was that. And then I'd done, some like 3-4 day long trips. That was about it.
So do you consider yourself a thru hike junkie at this point?
No, because I know that I know people that are like way more kind of addicted to it than me, I guess. They literally want to be out there all the time. And some of them are, some people are like literally hiking all the time. In the off season, they do, whatever, they go to the southern hemisphere and hike there, and like, that kind of thing. I'm not on that level. I've got so many other things that's going on in my life that, I'm super passionate about, but hiking and, long distance trips like that is sort of number one.
Right. So if you could, I mean, if I guess if we were to speak to our own, I don't want to call it groups, because I feel like that's actually going counterproductive. But if we talk to our own, like if I talk to the weekend guys, what would I say to them that, what could we do to bridge that gap a little more? I mean, what do you feel like? I mean, what is there a way to do that? Because the gap is even like, I feel like this is even getting deeper into the weeds, but like the gap is even like people that live in mountains and people that don't live in mountains. You get like, I get comments all the time like, oh, you haven't hiked until you're at 14,000 feet. It never ends. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's experiences are different, but that's like saying, like, if you haven't played in the NBA, you haven't played basketball, or like, it's, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Like, I just don't get that mentality personally. Like, if you're saying you'll do something and you're not doing it, then it's different, right? If you're saying, oh, I'm a thru hiker, and you haven't thru hiked, then it's like, it's a different situation. But you never said that you're a thru hiker. So why does it matter? Like, I don't know. I don't know. But then it's just that divisive thing, unfortunately. You know, it's just, you could look at that in any area of life,
Oh, for
politics,
sure.
you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just this division, unfortunately. Why do we have to have division in backpacking? It's like a recreational thing that people do for fun. It's a hobby. Like
I've totally, that's so true. I've tried to explain, because I've got a lot of friends that don't do anything outdoors related at all, right? Just in my circle of life. And when if I have this conversation with them and try to explain to him to people this, what I'm talking about, they're like, their eyes bug out of their head and they're just like, are you serious? Why? How is that possible? Like, so
how do you have that much time to like argue about hiking?
exactly. It's
like,
so
what?
juvenile, right? Like,
Sure. I've got like a day, you know, I've got a job, I got a family, or, you know, kids or a relationship to take care of. Like, I haven't got time for that.
No, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when the end result is simply that, in my opinion, that the world belongs to all of us and we should all have the opportunity to experience it. Whether I tell people all the time, like, I don't care how you got out there. I don't care if you pulled a wagon with all your gear, right? I don't care. I'm just glad you're out there. Like, it doesn't matter to me. If we meet out there somewhere, I will be your friend. Like, it's just, we're gonna hang out.
Yeah. If you're respectful to me when I meet you, I'm like, yo, dude, how's it going? What? Oh, you're doing like a weekend trip? Oh, yeah, we just came from that direction. It's beautiful. Have a good trip. See you later. You know, like, it's mutual respect thing.
Yeah,
I think. And when you're actually, more often when you're on a hike and you're on trail and you bump into other people, there is a lot more respect, right? There's a lot more positive energy. Whereas you talk about doing that kind of interaction on the internet, that goes out the window. You know, like, people wouldn't talk to people face to face like they would over the internet.
Yeah.
So
I've had
that's what it comes down to.
I've had borderline death threats on my channel. Can you believe that? Like, I will kill you type stuff. You think to yourself, you're like,
wow,
you would never say that to me in person. You would never say that to anybody in person. It's just, it's mind-boggling, the maturity level, I feel like. But that's a whole nother topic.
But anyway, I don't know. Do you feel like we've done a justice to that question? Because I don't think either of us want to go on a rant, but like, I feel like we've done pretty good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think that was the big question that's the conversation I've just always wanted to have. And I feel like it's good for people to hear that from guys that both get into the outdoors, no matter how we get out there. You know, nobody's better than anybody else. We're just getting out there differently and in different time frames and all that stuff. And who cares, man? Right? Just glad we're out there.
Right, just have fun. Just have fun. That's all what it comes down to. Like, life is short, right? So have fun. Should we do a couple more? Or what do you think? You got some, there any good ones on there?
What does comfort on the trail mean to you? What are some things about thru hiking that no amount of overnighters can prepare you for? I don't know.
Yeah. Like, to quickly answer that one, it's just the sheer the length of it, the amount of time that you're out there.
Sure.
Right. It's just like a 4-week backpacking, a 4-day backpacking trip multiplied by however many it is to get you to 2,500 miles or however many miles the trail is. So it can prepare you, but unless you do it, you don't have the experience.
Yeah.
So
I would have to totally agree with that. Yeah. Seriously, because if I was going to go through hike something, you'd be the first person I'd call. I'd be like, oh, dude, please help me.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing with like my channel as well. Like, if you watch a lot of my videos, like, I'm kind of aiming it at the long distance hiker or the ultralight backpacker or whatever. But like, if the idea is that someone can hopefully learn from me regardless of their position. Like, and if I get comments or questions on the channel or on the website, then people, you know, I answer it in the way that I get given it. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not putting myself up on a pedestal, and you know, it's just all about like getting out there and having fun with people.
For sure.
So I'm intrigued. I'm super intrigued to see what people have to say about this. You know, I assume people are going to be pretty active in the comments on this video. I'm intrigued
Yeah.
to see what people say. If people like it, we can do another. We can
Yeah,
do round 2
sure.
and go
Yeah, that's
again.
awesome.
So,
All right. Well, thanks for this conversation. Appreciate you doing it. You guys go check out Pie on the Trail, right? And I'll put your info below, all that stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that stuff.
Definitely. Make sure to subscribe and come say hi. Ask me as many
Yep.
questions as you like.
Yep.
I love answering questions. So, yeah, dude, this was a pleasure. Have a good day. And yeah, we'll do it again
Awesome.
soon.
Sounds
maybe.
good.